Okay, good evening, everyone. Let's go and see what's happening here. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so good evening, another Tuesday evening. You should find me on Facebook. Still haven't been able to sync with StreamYard yet, but still working on it. So another Tuesday, and we're continuing with our subject matter of moral injury. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for individuals, both far and near, or near and far, who are interacting with this really important topic. It is a form of abuse that employers are launching on their employees, but also there's a part that sometimes we can play moral injury because we have not done anything about it. So I'm just going to put a couple of definitions on, so at least if you're watching for the first time, you get a sense of what this is all about. Here we go. You should be able to pick it up on YouTube and Facebook. So there you go. That is part of it. And I'll just do something else here. See if we can put that there. At least you can. So there you go. You should see that. And then the final definition. And this is go. The contradiction of your own values is so impactful that it becomes its own form of trauma. And somebody asked me some time ago, do you recover? Well, I shared a story. When something has been so disruptive, you can recover. You never forget it. Met somebody very recently by accident, and we were talking, exchanging ideas and so forth. Thank you. And her husband experienced moral injury over 10 years ago, and he pursued the legal battle, and he won. And she asked him recently, do you think about it? He says, yeah, I think about it often. It is such a shocking experience. You don't forget about it. Obviously, we're looking at recovery, but you never ever forget it. Anyway, we're looking at transforming your inner pain. This is from the idea of Richard Rohr, who says this amazing quote that if we do not transform our pain, we will transmit it, and we will transmit it to people, our friends, our partners, our loved ones. And he says we transmit it to the most vulnerable. But then he says, don't be too quick to get rid of the pain because it has something to teach. So this whole thing, and I don't think he's of the school that suffering makes you stronger. Suffering of its own doesn't make you stronger. It's what you do with it and how we respond to things. So we're looking at today, transforming your inner pain, about sharing. We've looked at this whole thing about being honest about it, about being open. So the thing was sitting with your pain, owning your pain, and exploring the pain. That's what we looked at last week. So we're looking at sharing your pain, really important, because sharing is something that is it's almost innate to us as human beings. Children are taught to share, and something about sharing our painful experiences is really, really important. So so one of the things we need to do, as I said, we need to learn. So how then do we do that? And I remember putting this idea together, and I remember just thinking, what? Sharing it? You, Deborah, you must be joking. It's a hard time us kind of being sharing ourselves at the best of times. But an excellent article by Sean Grosvenor says that reaching out to others and breaking your silence is curative and necessary. He said he's the type of individual that when something happens to him, then he withdraws, he goes for long walks, but he says, and he kind of just withdraws into himself and from people. But he said that may be okay in the short term, but that's no good long term. We need to be able to reach out and talk to other people. If we do that, if we share with other people, then what happens? We are then no longer a prisoner to the pain that entraps us. So it's really important that when we share what we've gone through, We're no longer the prisoner of the pain, but there's some things we need to kind of take on board. Sheridan Vosey, he's written some fantastic articles. As much as sharing your pain is important, he says there are some caveats to take on board. You may feel like it, but he's saying you're not on your own. But there's one or two things we need to do before we share our pain. He said there's a tribe whose members are hidden and they're everywhere around us. And I want to talk a little bit about that tribe in a few moments. One of the things I've said all along, and I'm saying it again today, there's I don't know who's watching, and I don't mind which part of the world you're from. The minute I'm certainly got in contact from different parts of the world. I may have never met you, or might have seen you on LinkedIn, or might have seen you on Facebook and so forth. This is what I know. All of us, regardless of where we are, two things we have. We all suffer in one way or another, and we're all seeking pain. We're all seeking peace. So we're suffering in one way or another, but we're all in search of peace. So Sheridan Vosey talks about this whole thing about sharing your pain. He talks about we need to take the vulnerable step. And he says this: there's a tribe whose members are hidden and everywhere around you. By taking the vulnerable step of sharing your pain, you can find its members and enter in. I'm going to say a little more about that in a moment. But some of us will remember in our school days, the teacher was doing this stuff and you didn't understand what was going on. And you assumed you were the only one who didn't understand. And quite often, half the class didn't understand. But nobody wanted to ask the question because they had this idea that you're going to be stupid. But quite often, people didn't know either, or your colleagues. I remember listening to a video recently with Simon Sinek, a kind of leadership mentor and so forth. And he was in this meeting, and he said there was this person doing the teaching. He said all the CEOs were nodding their heads, and he was thinking, what on earth is this man talking about? So then he asked the question, and then it transpired that hardly anybody else in the room understood what was going on. Good evening, Sonia. And yes, may I say a huge welcome to those who may be different part or watching for the first time. Welcome. My name is Delroy Hall. I'm a trained psychotherapist and lecturer and tutor and trainer. And you can look me up. I've got a 4-year social media presence. So I'm not a Johnny come lately, just a kind of just perking up now and then disappearing. I started this through lockdown. Looking at loss, grief and bereavement, and it just kind of continued, covered a whole range of subjects. But this has been the most enthralling subject I've looked at because people have been engaging with it, and I've heard some horror stories of moral injury that people have experienced. If you've just tuned in, if you go further up the YouTube screen, you'll see some definitions of moral injury. So there's tons of people out there wrestling with inner pain caused by moral injury and other forms of workplace mistreatment and abandonment. We don't know them because quite often we're not sharing. But he says this, Vosey says he cautions us. Before we share publicly, we must share privately for our healing. So one of the things sometimes when people are in a lot of pain, it leaks out everywhere. But he's saying before we get to that stage, we need to share it privately. And it's really good to do that. And also to reflect on the benefits of sharing as we'll be going through this. So let me just say this before I really get into this kind of particular community. The benefits of sharing, you know them already. You know how you feel when you share. Benefits of sharing eases the burden of those in hardship. When we share, it inspires others. It creates a sense of community of kindness. I recall, I mentioned some time ago, I was asked to do a lecture to sixth formers on the benefits of kindness. And I was amazed at the impact that kindness has on our well-being, psychologically, emotionally, the immune system, the endocrine system, our muscles, our blood pressure, our heart rate. It's amazing how things respond positively when we're sharing or being kind. So sharing cultivates gratitude. It's a human experience. It develops connection between people. It's amazing when babies share, how bonds are formed. When adults share, bonds are formed. Now, of course, there'll always be people who take the mick and all that type of stuff, but sharing generally benefits you. Why? It releases oxytocin. as they call it the wellness hormones. And so when we share, it has a positive effect on our brain, builds trust, relieves stress, and relieves anxiety, improves the immune system, and it benefits overall well-being just by sharing. And those of you that are listening, you know the benefits of either sharing, and also, you know, if somebody shared something from the goodness of their heart, and you know how you feel when they've given you something. So I want to talk a little bit about this this community, this scarred community. Something I've been talking about recently about an online community where people who've experienced moral injury can come together in an environment where people understand what's taken place in your life. So moral injury, there's no doubt it scars you. There is no doubt in that. The pain can get inside. So pain is needed to get inside this secret tribe, he says. There are members of this tribe, they're hidden, but they're everywhere to be found. So listen, most of you that are listening, you know, you really do not know people's story until they start to tell you. We make lots of assumptions about how people look and so forth. I remember, let me just give you an example, slightly off cue, but it's kind of giving the point what I'm sharing. I worked for an organization many years ago, well over 30 years ago. And there was a particular woman in the office. She was the best dressed woman in the office. Not that it was a fashion thing. And she told me, I remember commenting, I said, you know, you always come to her absolutely spick and span. And then she said, Delroy, I buy all my clothes from jumble sales. And you saw, I don't know, she might have been watching, I don't even know. I'm not seen her for 30 years. But she was always spick and span, always well put out, and you thought she might have spent a lot of money on her clothes, but she said to me, Delroy, I get all my clothes from jumble sales. And you would never have known, and you would have made the assumption she might have gone to a shop with decent quality stuff. So moral injury scars you, that is no doubt. So how you're initiated into this scarred tribe, says Rosie, is through pain. So there's this modern idea that, you know, do I belong to your tribe, or are you a part of my tribe, or my world? So the initiation, and it takes it from the kind of African cultures whereby young men, before they go into manhood, they're taken out into the forest, and there's certain rituals, sometimes very painful rituals, but it's a process from adolescence or childhood into manhood. And part of the ritual is quite painful. So he said the initiation into this scarred tribe is pain. And certainly those of you who have experienced moral injury do experience pain. So it's initiation into this tribe through pain, no entrance without wounds, no inclusion without scars. So we're busted already, because moral injury messes you up. You don't get a touch of moral injury, you have it. And it distorts your worldview. It distorts how you think about yourself, your family, the world, values, your morals. Everything is really in a state of flux. And what we're talking about is how this process of recovery. And you can see already the process of recovery is not overnight. One of the things it said about being in this tribe, it says there's common stories of disappointment, of heartache and broken. It says there's different stories, but common emotion of disappointment, upset, heartbreak, shattered dreams. Individuals who've been in a workplace for years and been a valued person, and then they see something, they see it a few times and they report it, they make some noise about it because it's unprofessional, unethical, and the company on its website and its literature talks about this is what we do, and then behind closed doors there's unholy or unethical practices going on. You then report it, as you should do. You're told there's going to be an investigation, and 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later you're called into a meeting thinking that you're going to find the results of this investigation, and you realize you have now become the target. You're now the victim, and you are now the one that the workforce, the leadership, the management focusing on you. You are the culprit. But there's many other forms of people in this scarred tribe, people who don't have children, people who've lost a loved one, lost partners, it's pain. So we're in this scarred tribe, one of pain. But listen to the end, because this tribe is not just all about pain. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a tribe, he says, of common doubt. It's not just for people of faith. but for people whose lives have been shattered, dreams have been shattered. I know a couple, handsome guy, gorgeous wife, and he even himself says it, that you thought the perfect couple, children, nothing. They have children now, but not the way in which nature would intend. But he says, for them it was a huge thing. And then there's some families never have children whatsoever. But also in this tribe, this scarred tribe, it's amazing. When I started to make a list of stuff, one of the things that people experience with moral injury, as well as other things, is loss, as losing something, losing a job, a child, being made. Now, people talk about being made redundant, but I always correct people. No, you're not made redundant. Your post has been made redundant. There's a difference. Losing a job, so with a job status, finance, and so forth, loss of relationship, loss of good health, loss of a partner, all these things, he's saying, these are some of the characteristics of the scarred tribe, the community where people are in pieces and broken, but they enter into a place where they are understood and they don't have to be explaining things because people get it and get them. But from this moment of common doubt, common stories, a tribe of pain, he says it's a tribe of shared discoveries. I like what he says. Shared stories, shared and common emotions, lessons learnt. And your scars can equip you to be of service to others. Insights are traded. So in this place of pain, as people start to share and are vulnerable, it's the part of recovery. So shared stories, shared doubt, and then there's shared discoveries as people on this process of healing. Sometimes some of the most difficult experiences in life, this is my thoughts, life can make us better people, more patient, more compassionate, more human, more empathic, more loving, more caring. And that's not to say we were bad people before. I'm not saying that at all. But we experience a new dimension of human experience when we've taken the step of vulnerability and begin to share our pain. But also when we share our pain, what it does when we share our pain and we're able to get to a place of recovery or healing, it gives us, if we've learned from it any at all, it gives us the capacity to be with other people when they are in pain too. So it says, so there's this shared discoveries and also a tribe of shared healing. Doubts, discoveries are shared, the community of healing with new possibilities. When one of the things I've always said, that when you're depressed or in a gray moment, everything you look at looks gray, but the grayness doesn't last forever. And at some point, when you seem to emerge out of that grayness, you see possibilities that you didn't see while you were in that grayness. Healing gives us the ability to listen to others. Also, what healing does, or recovery does, it can mean that we walk away from the dream unfulfilled because we now realize it wasn't as important as we thought it was. So this whole thing about, there's a bit of me that wants to say, and I need to explore this a bit further, it's almost as though, yes, loss of independence. Thank you. Let's just put this so people can see. Loss of independence. Oh, let's just stick it on there a bit. Yeah, loss of independence. Let me just check Facebook for a moment, because I'm meant to be. I'm still on it, but I'm not seeing any comments yet. I don't think from anybody. No, not yet. Okay, let's go back to this. So yeah. Shared healing. So healing gives us the ability to listen to others, leaving unfulfilled dreams, making peace with God or the deity who you believe, making peace to the point whereby, do you know what? I don't understand all that's taking place, but I'm at peace with what's happened because I've learned from it. And now this is a process. When you're right at the beginning of being marginalized by your workplace, being victimized by your workplace, this whole thing about being at peace and settling with it. Listen, mate, you're full of rage and anger, and you're disappointed, you're distraught, you're broken. But at some point, in good hands, and if you do that, the kind of necessary work, it does take time. It's amazing what can happen as you experience it. So it talks about getting into this tribe. It's the vulnerable step. Revealing your scars. Where you reveal your scars, you will be welcomed. And sometimes what we need to do, we build up the courage. We need to share our story with one person. Now, when we share our stories with people, they might not always get it. And some people, when they hear your story, they run in the opposite direction. I remember a friend of mine many, many years ago, we become really, really good friends. And she sent me a text. And I remember saying, oh, a message, are you saying what I think you're saying? And she said, what do you think I'm saying? I said, well, this is what I think you're saying. And then she said, yes, that is what I am saying. She said, the last friend I shared that with, she said, they never spoke to me again. And it was something that had happened in her life. She'd moved on. But sometimes when we share things with individuals, some individuals, you need to be prepared that some people may walk away, may go into the opposite direction, because they haven't got the capacity to hear what you have to tell them. So, as difficult as it is sharing your inner pain, it's not your responsibility to manage other people's emotions. So, this is the tribe. I spoke about the tribe. But I want to talk about some of the things that we can do in terms of sharing privately. I just want to share. So one of the first things about sharing, that it's good to check in with ourselves. How do we feel about our painful emotions? That's one. How do we feel about talking about our painful emotions to other people? Right? What judgments may you have of yourself in doing so? What are some of the internal wars? And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show something on screen for you to read, because I just think it's absolutely brilliant. Hope you can see it. I'll just give you a few moments to read it, and I'll make a little bit of comment on it. And right, see, it's not on. See, it's not come up on Facebook. Where a lot of judgments, battles, and so forth, it's all in the mind. All in the mind. Okay, I think if you're on YouTube, Twitter, or LinkedIn, if you want to watch it again, it'll come up again. Only on Facebook somewhere. I've just had a quick look. It's not there at all. Someone called John Gordon has written that. So, sharing privately, checking with yourself, and how do you feel about sharing your emotions with other people? Now, moral injury, I don't see how you can recover from moral injury without sharing your emotions with anybody, to be honest, because the emotions are just too powerful, and we just get too overwhelmed with it all. It's just too much. It's just too much. So what are your judgments? So remember this whole thing, the internal wars, half the stuff that goes on in our heads. Sharing our inner pain takes us way outside of our comfort zone. And if it gets too difficult, what we do, we just run back into our comfort zone, and we add more layers on. It makes it more difficult to kind of just poke our head above the parapet for us to get the recovery and get the healing that we need. So what parts might be more difficult to share? Sometimes we might talk about the job loss and how we've been treated, but we don't talk about the emotion, how we felt, shame, all that type of stuff, failure. And that's the thing that we really kind of need to kind of talk about, those really difficult emotions that can be quite difficult. And that's really kind of important. One of the things that we don't want to do necessarily is share our rawest emotions until they're past. Sometimes people can hear some of the story, but some of the anger and the bitterness people can't deal with. But therapists are trained to deal with those raw, those kind of visceral kind of emotions. Also, you can journal. One of the great things, there's a whole raft of stuff on journaling. When you know that I'm a biggie for that. You can journal what you want to say. So before you talk to somebody, you might want to write out what you want to say. But as you write, don't edit it. Just get the stuff on paper. Get it all on paper. Paper does not react to your thoughts or feelings. This pouring thoughts on paper has relieved me. I feel better and full of confidence, says Diet Emmen, who was a Dutch resistance fighter in the Second World War, who helped Jews to escape from the Nazis. Diet Emmen. She kept journals of what was happening to her during the Second World War. And then Bukola Ugunwale says, your journal is like your best friend. You don't have to pretend with it. You can be honest and write exactly how you feel. That's so true. When you're writing some anger and you're wrathful and you want to F and Jeff and swear and you write it on paper, the paper doesn't say to you, Delroy, you should not be saying that. Look, from the stock you came from, you should not be using that language. The paper accepts it. It receives it. There's no judgment. And it's really helpful from getting stuff outside of our heads or outside of here onto the page. Really, really helpful. So get everything out of your head on paper or on an electronic device. Or if you don't like to write, record it on your phone. Speaking to yourself is also can be cathartic, and you speak to yourself and think, what? Oh, I didn't think of that, as you start talking to the phone, way of recording it. And the person who wrote the article, Arnott, she says a fun way. She says, if you want to make sure there's no record of what you're taking place of your story, she says, blast out some music, get into a shower and talk to yourself while you got the warm water and nice smelling soap on you. That's one of the ways you can almost, I'm going to say almost, though, the poison emotion, it's almost though you're exercising yourself or detoxifying yourself of the emotion that's caused by moral injury. So a lot there to take in. So sharing is really important. Sometimes we have to share one person at a time, but knowing if we do that, some people may be quite reciprocal. Some people might run into the distance. You never hear from them again. And one of my friends, she said to me that one of the things that experiencing moral injury has taught her is that you really know who your friends are. And I've always said this, and not because I'm involved in counseling, but this: you don't need an army of people. All you need is 2 or 3 people who've got your back, so when things get tough, they are with you. You don't need 6 or 7 or 10 people. You only need 2 or 3 people who've got your back, who will not put up with your nonsense, but they'll give you the space and time that you need to talk about stuff without prejudging or judging you or condemning you. So transforming inner pain, if we don't transform it, we'll transmit it. And the process we looked at, sitting with the pain, owning the pain, that was exploring the pain, that was last week. And today we spoke about sharing, either on a one-on-one or being a part of a community. I think I've got 2 or 3 people again. If you're interested in being a part of an online community, let me just share that with you. Please email me or send me something through my website. I'm going to keep the offer open till the end of this month. Really, I need no more than 10 people. I've got 3 at the moment. If you want to inquire about it, send me an email. I can give you some information about it. Then I'll leave it up to you to decide what you want to do. But maybe sometimes when people come to see me over the years, the reason why they come to see a therapist is they don't want to talk to their families or their friends about what they're going through. They said, I don't want to keep repeating myself to my friends and my family. So I want a space that is separate from my family and my friends. And maybe that's something that can be offered to you. So Arnott suggests a fun way, and also belonging to a small group. The Scar Tribe is a safe place where you can share your story. People get it. They don't understand. It's not that they don't understand. They get it because they're going through something similar themselves. And when you in a place whereby you're understood, it's a lot easier to share things. Concluding thoughts from my newsletter. And thank you very much for those who've subscribed to the newsletter through LinkedIn. I do about 1,000-word newsletter. It comes out Wednesday or Thursday, looking at what I'm about to do. And then the session on Tuesday night is a deep dive into the newsletter. So concluding thoughts, I'm going to just read this bit. As we begin the all-important, or we continue the all-important pathway of recovery from moral injury, I will conclude with the wise words of Shona Vosley. The tribe of the scarred is a precious tribe to be a part of, and membership comes only through vulnerably sharing your pain. But begin with someone you trust for your own healing first. Who knows what it might lead to? You share with one and then see how it kind of develops. But if you want to be a part of a online community, please let me know. Yeah, let's take it from there. So I've taken 30 minutes of your time. Thank you very much indeed. Looks like summer is here at last, folks. So enjoy the rest of your night and the rest of the week. I'm still working on trying to get Facebook up and running. In fact, it's up now, to be honest, but I'm not getting much interaction from. I just hasn't quite set up properly yet. And StreamYard, the platform that I use to simultaneously broadcast, is not registering with Facebook at all at the moment. So I'm not too sure what is happening. Anyway, that's for me to sort out, and at some point it will be sorted out. So go well, enjoy the rest of your evening and your week, and please contact me if you wish to. I'll just leave you my email address again. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube if you want to. My email and my website is there, and I'm on Facebook as well, but it's just not the recordings are just not coming through. Go well, take care, speak to you soon, bye bye.